Hi everyone. We're going to talk more about the Buteyko breathing. I am an instructor of that. I also had COVID, and this is dedicated to all of the survivors in the Survivor Core Facebook group. Many of us suffer from continued breathing dysfunctions. And so I want to share with you some of the Buteyko skills, because Buteyko has been something which I was using before I got COVID, and I definitely used it to help myself while I was feeling breathless when I was sick, and have definitely continued to use these skills throughout my day since I've recovered. So it's really important that I can help you understand sort of the goal of Buteyko, which is to change how your breathing center of your brain perceives of your need to breathe in. We either breathe in or we breathe out. As I said in the last video, and there's a link to that in the description, if you got knocked out and stopped breathing, there is enough oxygen in your body for our brains to survive 4 to 5 minutes. Most of us cannot hold our breath for that long, and that's why in the first video we actually identified our breathlessness. That's what our brain is telling us. Our brain isn't always accurate. And how do we know it's not accurate? Because we go to movies. Right? And even though we know that they're not real, our bodies respond, our brains respond to the real or imagined. So with Buteyko, what you're doing is you're retraining the breathing center of your brain. You're not just retraining your lungs, you're retraining the reactiveness that the brain center has. When we get out of breath, when we have any dysfunctional breathing, we feel that our life is threatened, and our brain reacts to that threat accordingly. We feel that we need to take in more air, and when we've had COVID, that sensation exists because of the autoimmune reaction that our body has to this virus, since this virus is new and unknown. So, and also that the virus does leave damage into our lungs. So the first things we did in the last video was to take our control pulse and to unblock our nose. Unblocking our nose is really, really important. You might think that's a trivial skill. However, if the goal is to become a nose breather, in the nose, out the nose, which Buteyko is, then it's important that you feel that you can unblock your stuffed nose. So it's really important that you do that. And why you are doing this is you want to activate your sympathetic nervous system. Nose breathing activates your parasympathetic nervous system. That's the nervous system in our body that produces calmness, and it lowers blood pressure, and it dilates the alveolus in your lungs and the blood vessels throughout your body, so you feel warmer, and it decreases any symptoms of dysfunctional breathing, and you get a better sleep, and you have improved exercise abilities and performance. So when you feel you're gasping for air, when you're mouth breathing, when you have a shortness of breath, that's stimulating your sympathetic nervous system, your fright, flight, fight, fear, freeze, where everything constricts and you feel you have to move quickly, or you get restless, or you feel frightened or anxious. So by using the Buteyko breathing, consciously knowing that your purpose is to stimulate the parasympathetic, that your purpose is to retrain your brain center for breathing, then you do these exercises because they make sense to you. So unblocking your nose is an exercise, as simple as it is, that makes sense. So you do it 5 times And then you notice right away, then you notice in 20 minutes, then you notice in an hour and a half. And if you forget easily, just put a stopwatch on and ask yourself, is my nose less blocked now? So go to the previous video, the link is on this description, and go through those exercises. So what we want to do is to go through some other exercises or skills in Buteyko. One is learning to breathe in and out your nose. It is hard for many people, particularly if they have a stuffed nose, to do that. When I'm talking, I am breathing out my mouth. When I pause, I have to intentionally breathe in my nose, or else I will breathe in my mouth. Mouth breathing dries out your mouth. It also doesn't really inflate your lungs so much as bring air into your stomach. So you want to shift over to nose breathing. Shifting to nose breathing takes time. You have to remind yourself. And so when you remind yourself that you are breathing in your mouth and you shift over to breathing in your nose, notice how soon you feel breathless and feel that you need to breathe in your mouth again. If you feel that way, go back and doing the unblock your nose again. Do it again. Remember, it's a slight inhale in your nose, slight exhale out your nose, pinch, rock, or nod just for distraction. And then when you feel that you have a slight urge to breathe, breathe in your nose, because that's collecting the nitric oxide here, which is the major gas that dilates your alveolus and your blood vessels. So the best way to understand about nose breathing and where you're placing your breath, so we have the upper lungs, we have middle lungs, we have lower lungs. When we're not breathing functionally, we're tending to raise our chest. And we're using the upper lungs. When you start to nose breathe and calm your breathing down, then you begin to use the lower part of your lungs. When your breathing really becomes functional, we don't hear it, we don't see our body move, because our body is efficient in bringing in oxygen, and it's efficient in liberating that oxygen from our blood, our hemoglobin, into our organs and muscles. That's what Buteyko is doing. By being able to equalize the gases in our body, the oxygen, the carbon dioxide, the nitric oxide in the sinuses, then our oxygen comes in, and then it goes into the organs and our muscles. That's efficiency. People who are athletes that have good breathing, that's the efficiency of their breathing. So you want to begin to be aware of both breathing in your nose and out your nose, and this is a skill, and also where you're placing your breathing. So when you breathe in, you have a diaphragm under your lungs, and that attaches to your rib cage. And that diaphragm, when you breathe in, acts as a sucking thing. So it comes down, the attachment in your ribs and your diaphragm. The diaphragm sinks. It sort of goes boop like that. And when it goes boop, it sucks in air. And then it pushes up, pushes the air out, and then sucks it in, pushes it out. It takes a while to feel that. It took me months and months and months to feel that. I couldn't tell if my diaphragm was going up or going down. What was it doing? And then I realized that it's like a bellows. It sucks down, then it sucks the air in, and it pushes it out. It should be effortless. The diaphragm pulls the air in and pushes it out. We don't have to breathe in, to breathe out, which I was doing. I was consciously, because of my bad breathing, was sucking air in and pushing air out. Now my diaphragm pulls it in and pushes it out. So you do not see or hear my breathing. I've had to do that. I've had to use the skills to change my habits. It takes time. Was it worth it? Yes, this is why I'm sharing with you guys. So this skill, after you unblock your nose, and remember you can unblock your nose sitting, lying, standing, walking, exercising. And you can do this in any position. But if you're having dysfunctional breathing, do these first, sitting or lying down. Just put your hand on your chest and your hand on your lower belly. And when you breathe in, your lower belly hand should rise up, not this one. So it shouldn't be, it should be, and you want to keep doing that until you begin to feel more comfortable. And you need to keep reminding yourself. If you're suddenly walking and find yourself raising your shoulders, breathing in your chest, you want to just stop. Don't stop breathing. Just stop where you're moving your breath. Just consciously begin to breathe down more into your belly. So that's the first skill for today. The other is about unblocking individual nostrils. And once again, you can do this skill lying, sitting, standing, walking, or exercising. When we unblocked the nose last time, we took a slight breath in our nose, slight breath out, blocked our nose, distracted ourselves by swaying or nodding, breathed in to welcome the nitric oxide into our system. And as I said, once you begin to feel the nitric oxide here, it's a tingly. And intentionally breathe in your nose and invite it to come into your body. What happens in my body is after a while, my hands get warmer, my feet get warmer. If I'm in a hot climate like I am now, I begin to sweat. I open up my blood vessels. And when I've achieved that, my nose feels less blocked as well. So I've stimulated the parasympathetic nervous system. And you do this by another skill, which is to block one nose, see how well you breathe in that nose, block the other nose, see how well you breathe in that nostril, and then block the nose that's easiest to breathe through, the nostril that's easiest to breathe through. That seems counterintuitive, but it's forcing your body to unblock the blocked side. So this is the easiest nostril for me to breathe in. So I'm going to block that. And then I'm going to just breathe in and out the other side. And you can feel that you're breathless, in which case open up both. Try to still breathe in your belly, and then go back to blocking that nostril. You should be able to do this for 20 minutes on each side. When I first started, I could do it 5 seconds, right? So my control pause was 5 seconds. A reasonable one is about 20 seconds, where you can exhale, pinch your nose, and hold your breath without any feeling that you need to breathe at all for 20 seconds. And people who have very good breathing can do it up to 40 seconds. And there are deep divers, free divers, who can hold their breath for 6 or 7 minutes. I can't, but I am definitely infinitely less breathless. So you just hold one nostril and breathe in and out that nostril. That's a skill that improves your breathing function, and it changes the breathing center of your brain. The next skill is to create more carbon dioxide in your system. I struggled with this because as a person who was breathless, we feel we need more oxygen. And when you have COVID and they put an oximeter on your finger and your oxygen levels are low down, yes, you do need more oxygen. But you need a balance between your oxygen and your carbon dioxide in your system. When you breathe in and have oxygen in your system, the oxygen attaches to the hemoglobin in your blood. Because I have no scientific or medical training, it took me a while to simplify this in my own brain. So I'm going to give you my simple version of this. Any of you who are scientists or want to look up more, you can understand this dissociation curve, this oxygen carbon dioxide dissociation curve that is all over the internet with Buteyko or the oxygen advantage. So what happens when you have a lot of oxygen is the oxygen attaches to your hemoglobin. But you need the oxygen in your body. And actually, when you get knocked unconscious and you're not breathing in oxygen, this occurs. So the carbon dioxide builds up in your system. And what it does is it detaches the oxygen molecules from your blood and sends it to your organs and muscles. That's why we can survive for 4 or 5 minutes. It's not that we have oxygen in our blood. It's that the oxygen in our blood has been shunted off now to our brain and to our vital organs. So the purpose of improving our breathing, and this is going to sound incredibly counterintuitive to all of us who have survived COVID and have had breathing problems, is that we want to build up the carbon dioxide in our system so that the oxygen that we do bring into our system is liberated and freed into our body. And we best do that when we stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system that opens up our blood vessels first. That makes sense. We want to unblock our nose, to feel that warmth in our body, to feel the tingling of the nitric oxide, to bring the nitric oxide into our system. And then we want to increase the carbon dioxide a little bit in our system so that the oxygen that we do have is then free to go through the blood vessels and into the organs and into our muscles. And the way we do that either is to breathe into a brown paper bag or we just cup our face. And that's true with our masks as well. However, normally we do not do this for the extended period of time we're doing with the masks that we have on. And this has become somewhat of a contentious issue with people about wearing masks in public. I have been in 2 countries with COVID. One country was New Zealand, that basically shut down, and we could go to the supermarket, no takeaways. We could go outside and walk as long as we kept social distance out with people outside our bubble, didn't stop and talk to them. But there was no policy to wear masks. Most of us did not wear masks. I'm now in Mexico. The cases are still rising here as of late June. When I am walking around the streets and there is nobody around, I do not wear a mask. As soon as I go into the areas where there is an inability to maintain social distancing, everybody puts on a mask. So every little bit helps. If you are wearing a mask and you feel that you need to take a break from it, just go someplace where you're social distancing, take the mask off for a little bit. You do want to increase the carbon dioxide in your system, but you don't want to just constantly be breathing carbon dioxide. So what I want to leave you with today is to go back to the first video to measure your control pause, to do the unblocking the nose, and to then begin to switch to nose-nose breathing, belly breathing, calm breathing, blocking the nostril one at a time, starting with the freer nostril for up to 20 minutes on each side. And then if you've been wearing a mask all day, don't bother with the cupping exercises, or you can use the cupping exercises for a few minutes to just begin to train your brain center to liberate the oxygen from the hemoglobin into your body. So the next session we'll have tomorrow and talk about further skills. It takes time to improve your breathing. Don't get discouraged. It's worth the effort. Every moment of your life, you are breathing in or breathing out, which means we have every moment of our life to improve our breathing. So as I'm talking, I have to keep improving that in my inhale, I breathe in my nose. It's hard work. It's worth it because I do a lot of teaching, and I found that when I was breathing in my mouth and talking out my mouth, I would get tired. So by breathing in my nose and talking out my mouth, I'm less tired. It requires me to think about it. If you're recovering from COVID, you're thinking about your breathing because it doesn't feel right. So think about the exercises, do the exercises, and in time you will improve. I knew I was on the right track when I started doing Buteyko and Oxygen Advantage, which is an athletic stem off from Buteyko. I knew immediately that I was doing the right thing. It took me months to really see improvement. And then the improvement was quite remarkable, and I was committed to improving more. At 76, if I can do it, you can do it.